I was about to say the unbeaten Dolphins. They're beaten. The beaten Dolphins taking on Mike Tomlin, and Mason Rudolph is back and not better than ever. This is his first pass, Dan Orlovsky.
You see him hanging in the pocket that long, right? When you're in the pocket that long, ball just needs to get out of your hands to a check down. Don't force it downfield.
And so the Dolphins with a chance to cash in, and they do. Albert Wilson in motion.
Nice use of the motion against man-to-man defense. They get a little bit of a pick. Easy touchdown to start for the Dolphins offense.
7-0 Miami. Now they have another chance, and it's Fitzpatrick, and it's Allen Hurns. It's 14-0.
Well, now it's zone, a little bit more difficult, but Hurns in his effort get that touchdown for the Dolphins.
But fear not, Dolphins would snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. Second quarter, Miami's up 14-3. Fitzpatrick is back to throw. Nick O'Leary is not ready for this.
And Minka Fitzpatrick says, thank you, old team that you gracefully traded me away for. Tipped ball, easy interception as it falls right into his lap.
He had 2 picks last night, and then here's the Dolphin defense everyone is talking about.
Mentioned it before. Mina Kimes coined this the best. This is called the tank pressure. When everybody blitzes and nobody covers because you want to go get the first pick in the 2020 NFL Draft.
We're going to talk about this at great length. Meanwhile, Steelers down 4 at halftime, but on the way back they come after Fitzpatrick's second interception of the game. It's Rudolph, and it's Juju Smith-Schuster.
Big boy catch by Juju right here. Randy Moss is going to put this on his Moss segment. Go up over the defender, make a contested catch, and then fall into the end zone as you secure it.
17 unanswered for the Steelers, and then they're looking to put it away in the fourth quarter in the red zone. Why not give it to James Conner and let him take it right up the middle?
Watch this contact balance. Bang! Put your hand on the ground and make sure that you reach that ball out over the line for a touchdown, Steelers.
24-14 Steelers. Dolphins weren't going to come back because they're not trying. But there was one bad moment late here. James Conner, on a night where he had 23 carries and 145 yards, right at the end there, an injury to the AC joint. Let's figure out just how bad that is, because he left and it didn't look good. I want to start there. Yeah. Dan Graziano, what do we know about James Conner's shoulder?
Yeah, early indications are okay. Obviously, they're going to see how he practices this week, how much he practices this week, but it doesn't seem like there's any kind of fracture. So they said after the game, AC joint, so it'll be a matter of probably some missed practice time, but I don't think it's out of the question that he starts and plays Sunday against them.
And he's an incredibly important piece of this team. They're 10-2-1 when he has 70 yards from scrimmage or more, and they're 1-6 when he doesn't. So that's his importance. So we can talk about the Steelers a little bit, and we have. They might be able to make a run and make it interesting in the division. But let's talk about that one play before halftime. Swagoo, you played defense in the National Football League a long time. Tell us what you see as we watch this play.
I see sheer disrespect of football players right here. And it's 11 guys out there, and regardless of what everybody out in the public thinks that the Miami Dolphins are bad and they don't have the players to do it, every coach that has ever coached should give their team a chance to win games, period. This right here is a blatant tanking issue. This right here is blatant from either upper management or coaches down there on the field saying, we're going to give this one up. I had no idea what they were doing. I looked at the clock, I looked at the time in the game, and I was like, there is absolutely no excuse for when the last time you saw a receiver run 20 yards downfield, catching the ball in the middle and nobody even close to it?
Yeah,
when the last time has it happened?
This is Mina's tweet, right? Mina Kimes drawing what this pressure actually is. Listen, this is 3rd and 22 right before the half. I mentioned this before. I think this call came from up top. Brian Flores is a prideful coach.
No question.
He's a defensive coach. There's no way that he made that call and felt structurally sound there's no one within 20 yards of the receiver on 3rd and 22 in a game that I think was a 3-point football game at this point. And listen, I played on an 0-16 football team. We never had a play that looked like that.
Tanking coming from upstairs is one thing, but bringing it down onto the field like this is something that I don't recall us seeing
it's
a lot of.
It's so disrespectful, man. Look, I know everybody's not going to take because the Dolphins are bad. Everybody's not going to take this like I take it. But there is, every time a player makes a mistake, people kill them, especially in big moments, right? And you can say this game wasn't important or whatever. We understand what Miami is doing. Dude, this is livelihoods. These are these dudes. I always say, I always revert back to that. Just like when we talk about anything else. As a player, I am damn well auditioning for 31 other teams while we playing
and
this game.
And this is why we hear Miami players asking for a trade out.
Hell yeah.
Because they're going, I'm not going to let force me to put bad tape out there for the 31 other teams to see.
That's a really bad moment. In a season that will be filled with many of them, to this point, that feels like it was the low point. In other news, it is a huge day around the NFL today. Elle, let's get to that.
It is. We're counting down the clock. NFL trade deadline, 4 p.m. Eastern today. And yesterday, our own Adam Schefter reported that the Giants made a rare trade with their rival Jets for defensive lineman Leonard Williams. I guess that's good for him. He certainly doesn't have to move far. Jets will receive a third-round pick in 2020 and a fifth-rounder in 2021. But we anticipate that will just be the tip of the iceberg. So, Dan Graziano, let's go tape to tape with some of the names that have been percolating for a while. And we'll start with the Bengals receiver, A.J. Green. Where are we at?
Everybody wants to know if A.J. Green's available. Problem is, it's two problems. One, he hasn't played yet this year. And number two, the Bengals do not seem inclined to move him. For whatever reason they should or shouldn't, the Bengals believe that they're better with him and they would like to sign him long-term and keep him there. He's only got a couple months left on his contract there, but it sounds like they want to try and keep him around.
We already saw the Broncos make a trade last week, Emmanuel Sanders. So what about their cornerback, Chris Harris Jr.?
Another guy who's in the final year of his contract, and it might make some sense for the Broncos to move on given where they are and are not in the standings. But they are telling teams that they want a lot for Chris Harris, to the point where teams are starting to move on to look at other options at cornerback that could be available. Guys like Janoris Jenkins from the Giants, Josh Norman in Washington. Speaking of which, here he is, right? This is a guy whose contract that they are kind of sick of, and they would move on from him. So we'll see. As the deadline gets closer, a lot of teams out there need cornerback help. This is a guy who's a veteran, who's done a lot of great things in this league. Could absolutely see a team making a move to bring in a guy like that to shore up their secondary.
Those are some specific names, as we also bring in our former GM, Mike Tannenbaum, as well. But I want to start with you. Give me a team you think is going to be most active today.
I like the Eagles. I mean, I just think they're usually active. They made a trade yesterday. They still need more help on the defensive side of the ball. You hear them connected with the cornerbacks. You hear them connected with, it was running backs, although they had a good game running the ball the other day. I'm not sure if that changes things, but I think that's a team that I'm looking out for in terms of, being involved in a lot of conversations here in the next few hours.
Mike?
The Cleveland Browns, their offensive line play has been terrible. Baker Mayfield's been sacked 3 or more times, 5 different games this year. Look for them to be aggressive today, possibly going after Trent Williams.
Speaking of which, you have a unique perspective as a former GM as to what John Dorsey is going through right now. Kind of give me a treetops view of what his day looks like.
Sure. So if they're looking for an offensive tackle, they're actually taking a first view of the 2020 draft board. So if we need an offensive tackle, and let's say Andrew Thomas, University of Georgia, very talented offensive tackle, the thought process is, hey, are we better off drafting Andrew Thomas next April, or should we give up a first-round pick and go get Trent Williams? Part of that's going to be the salary cap ramifications. Obviously, Thomas would be a lot cheaper for a longer period of time. You don't know if you could get him. So if we have the certainty of getting someone of Trent Williams, hey, that's great. Now, where are we going to save the money? Are we going to take it from a linebacker? Are we going to take it from a safety? So we're getting in a room and strategically trying to say, what's the best move for us? And if we borrow next year's first-round pick, we're going to have to get that cap room from somewhere.
So that's how John Dorsey is waking up. We can unequivocally say, Greeny, that Bruce Arians is waking up a little lighter in the pockets after yesterday.
Yeah, that certainly is around the corner, and he's frustrated, and he's right. I mean, Bruce Arians, the head coach of the Buccaneers, woke up yesterday mad at the officials after they lost to Tennessee, and that play cost them the game. An early whistle on that play cost them a potential go-ahead touchdown. Arians wants more accountability.
Referees aren't held accountable. Coaches get fired, general managers get fired, players get cut. Referees aren't accountable, and it's a shame. It's been that way for 40 years, and now that we got a new agreement, it'll be that way for 40 more years.
All right, so he's frustrated, and we get that part of it. And in our first hour, we had a huge argument where we parsed sort of the factual nature of every single word he used. And let's acknowledge, to Dan Graziano's point, the new agreement is not for 40 years, and there is some accountability and all the rest of that. Let's, however, deal with what I think is the bigger problem. And you described it in a note to me yesterday as a burgeoning crisis of confidence on the part of the public in the officiating.
Absolutely, and this feeds it. This is why you're starting to see the league publicly fine these guys for criticizing officiating. A couple players got it last week because they understand that, there are bad calls that need to be addressed, and that if there are systemic problems in how the game's officiated, they need to work on that. They are working on it. It's not going to make anybody happy they didn't fix anything yesterday. But the fact of the matter is they're working on it. The problem is, in the meantime, you have the public getting upset, thinking it's worse than ever. You have the stuff that coaches and players are saying feeding into that, and you're going to get to a point where people are going to start thinking, oh, the games are rigged or the officials are XYZ. And now at this point, you're not going to be able to trust what you're looking at, and that is a big concern on the part of the NFL.
And look, we just sat on this set yesterday, not in this collection of people, but Jessica Mendoza sitting up here with me yesterday and CC Sabathia arguing that they need to do away with home plate umpires in baseball and replace them with robots. So this is not unique to football. Is there a solution to what we view as a problem, Dan Orlovsky?
Yeah, I mean, you have to go in. I've said this numerous times. You got to blow it all up, right? And I would kind of take Dan's point in going, well, people aren't going to be happy that it wasn't fixed yesterday. I sat on the set 3 weeks ago. It hasn't been fixed since 3 weeks ago either.
It fixed in 3 weeks either.
But eventually we have to stop saying it's not getting fixed. And I understand that they're held accountable, but they're held accountable in the same way that they've been held accountable in the past.
Right.
But their impact is greater than it's been in the past. It is. They are as impactful in many games as the performance of a football team. And we're going to see coaches get fired. There's going to be coaches get fired because
every year.
But there are going to be
7,
coaches
8.
who directly get fired this year because they don't make the playoffs. And they might be a game short of the playoffs. And that game might have been decided by an official.
That has happened before. I mean, Dennis Erickson got fired because Vinny Testaverde didn't score a touchdown. These things have happened before.
Well, Testaverde did get in. I was with the Jets.
No, he did not. That's a whole other story.
But to Dan's point, all this pressure's on Jay Gruden. He's out. The public is relieved. We see it all the time. Ken Wisenhunt gets fired last night. Those officials are fired, Dan. We just don't know about it, and there's not this big sort of ceremony around it. So I think they are held accountable. We just don't see it publicly.
Let me make this point. There's been a lot of reporting on this lately. If you read it, there is a crisis in the lower levels of officiating. People are quitting high school officiating jobs, college officiating jobs because of the abuse. And the more you hear from the people in positions of power like Bruce Arians, the more emboldened people on the sidelines of those games are to disrespect and abuse officials. And you're going to have a problem with people don't want to do it. Qualified people aren't going to want to go into this line of work.
So then how is it mystifying to you that we've seen officiating take a hit? If you're telling me right now they don't want to do it, so we've got unqualified people coming up the ranks.
We're talking about people that would be coming up in the ranks 10, 20 years from now that are dropping out because they don't want to do that as a
word if we can from Marcus.
I mean, I just don't. I understand what you guys are saying, but so the refs are detached from scrutiny. Is that what
obviously not. What are we doing
I'm saying accountability publicly. They should be detached from that because everybody else is. Everybody that's involved in this league is highly scrutinized publicly. When a player misses a tackle, he's highly scrutinized. When a coach misses a call or when the Miami Dolphins doesn't put a defense on the field to stop a touchdown, they are publicly scrutinized. We want refs to be in this silo of saying, oh no, they're sacred and we can't publicly talk about their mishaps. They out there on the field just like everybody else.
I guarantee you that the officials from the Buccaneers game on Sunday would say, sure, I will subject myself to the same level of scrutiny as you get, Bruce Arians, when I get your salary, as opposed to 1/30th of it. I mean, it's not the same. It's not close to the same job. It's not even remotely the same
Players
job.
that's making, players that's making $5 to $7 million less than Drew Brees are held to the same standard when they playing.
Correct.
Right. But that's still more than the $200,000 a year that an average official makes.
That is, listen. If a ref is impacting the game with the wrong call, he should publicly be scrutinized.
Or what if he impacts the game with the right call?
But the point is that it just
same thing. Nobody bashed him for it.
I'm not going to get anywhere with this. You're all right at the end of the day, however, but what we're asking for is something that is perfect, and you're never going to get it perfect.
Never.
In no sport will we ever get it perfect, and there has never been the amount of eyeballs, attention, and significance on every call that we're seeing that there is now. There isn't any good turn for this thing to take that I can see. Meanwhile, let's go to Cleveland.
Need to be paid more. I agree with you.
It took till week 8, but Odell Beckham Jr. may finally be upset about his lack of touches on his offense. He had 5 catches on 7 targets for 52 yards Sunday against New England, and then after the game said this.
I just felt like we didn't challenge as much as we could have. I think we kind of shied away from it. I was expecting and looking forward to it, but that wasn't the case today. We had a couple plays, but for whatever reason we didn't do as much challenging as the matchups that we all talked about and all that. Other than that, whatever came my way, pretty much I caught. Whatever opportunities I had, I made the most of them. But you can only control what you can control.
Okay, so that's what he said on Sunday. Yesterday, those comments were relayed to head coach Freddie Kitchens, who has a lot of things to worry about right now. This was his response.
A lot.
Odell had 7 balls thrown to him. He caught 5 of them. I'm not responding to that. We need to win a football game. That's what I'm worried about.
Swagoo, should he be worried about this?
Hell yeah, he should be worried about it. He a $100 million receiver that you wanted on this team in order to help you win. Last time I checked, all right, really good players, they equate to wins. And the more you get them the ball, the more they help you win. I hear all of this. Odell Beckham is being targeted less than 57 players in the NFL at the wide receiver spot. Think about that for a second, guys. Yeah. Think about his impact on a game. And you telling me 57 receivers in the league are getting more targets than him? This is on the coach. Look, Freddie Kitchens in over his head. I think we're all there with that. But with that being said, when you make a trade for a superstar receiver, what the hell you think the superstar receiver want?
But, when you spin this story forward now, if you're Baker Mayfield, you're going into the next game saying, I got to get the ball to Odell Beckham regardless of the coverage, regardless of the progression, and this could really hurt his development instead of just, hey, give the ball to Nick Chubb, let's try to win a game. I think this is going to really, we got to understand, Baker Mayfield's still a very young quarterback.
We also have to be honest about them getting to the ball to Odell is a good thing, though, right? Like, they're one of their best chances to win football games or score points and be successful on offense to win football games is getting the ball to Odell as much as possible. So, like, I understand the fine balance of, like, okay, well, Baker doesn't want to force it to him. Like, listen, I played with Reggie Wayne and Calvin Johnson and Andre Johnson. There were times when we went into a game and it was like, listen, we're going to force the ball to this guy until they take it away. So if Odell wants the ball and it's thrown to you, you got to catch it. But just because you have a great player and your quarterback might force him the ball a little bit doesn't mean it's going to end up in a negative result.
This is the weird, his development. What? The development is getting the ball to the best player. Like in any sport. In any sport, you want to get the ball to the best player. Odell Beckham is the best wide receiver.
I mean, this is why you got Odell, right? Like, you got Odell. You obviously didn't expect to be 2-5, but you got Odell to be like, we got to find ways to score points.
But there's also a reason you have Nick Chubb and Jarvis Landry. And if you're Bill Belichick,
you're losing. But you're losing, Mike T. You're losing, though.
Because your offensive line is terrible, and they can't
throw it to Odell.
At the end of the day, when you're 2-5, all anyone needs to say is we need to find a way to win a football game, and it doesn't make a damn bit of difference how we go about doing it. Much more football as we continue. Elle, how about the game of the night in the NBA?
Yeah, speaking of needing to win a damn game, hi Warriors. Steph Curry and the Warriors taking on the Pelicans, of course, winless on the season and taking quite a bit of criticism for it. First play of the game, they come out as we welcome in Jalen Rose as well. Still in the second. Yeah, what up? Green finds Curry in the corner for a 3. Warriors shot 10 for 14 on passes from Draymond Green. He was a facilitator. Later on, Warriors in transition. Curry drives and then finds Green. He can do that as well. No look. 16 points, 10 assists, 17 rebounds. Warriors go up 64-53. Final seconds of the quarter now. And listen, Jalen, this is the Curry that we know. Pull up from the logo.
Looking like Trae Young out there.
Looking like Trae Young. Hopefully he'll have a quarter of the career Trae Young has had. Late in the fourth, Warriors up big. D'Angelo Russell misses the 3, but Curry makes a great save to get it back in bounds. And Russell eventually gets it back to Curry in the corner. It was a much more Curry and Warriors-like game, Jalen. Yesterday you said on this show that Draymond and Curry had to play better, and they did. 26 points for Curry, 11 assists. Warriors never trailed as they go on to win 134-123. Meanwhile, still Draymond.
We're still not a very good team. We have a lot of room for improvement. Just because we won one game doesn't mean we don't suck right now. We still have a lot of improvement to do. When I said we sucked last night, I see a lot of people blew it out of proportion. A lot of former players who ain't never led blew it out of proportion. We suck, and we're still not very good. But I've actually known how to lead my entire life, so those that have never led shouldn't probably talk about leading.
I mean, damn, he's mad when they lose. He's mad when he's win. Shot. Everybody, what do you make of his harsh criticism post a win?
See, that's what comes with leadership. To whom much is given, much is required. And it's one thing to talk about it to the media. It's another thing to perform the way Draymond did out on the floor. They're undefeated in his career, L, when he has a triple-double. That's what they needed. Steph Curry had a double-double. He had 11 assists, made players around him better. Damian Lee came in off the bench. Unfamiliar names. You got to get used to this if you're watching the Warriors. Damian Lee, Jordan Poole, Glenn Robinson III. These guys played quality minutes on the road. That was a big-time win.
Was it a Big Ten win? Because it was against the Pelicans. Is that maybe why I said they sucked?
Well, you just look at the standings. You don't necessarily look at the teams that you played against. And
Fair.
the Golden State Warriors really needed a victory, and they
Fair.
got it.
There you go. Okay. See, you're bright-siding this thing. Jalen Rose sticking around all day long. Break down NBA action from last night. Still ahead on Get Up. Jimmy G might be the one that got away from Bill Belichick. Hear why the Niners quarterback could get the ultimate revenge against
That's
Brady.
not true. People keep saying that. They built out their roster and won the Super Bowl without